TBQ, that would be my featured matchup. And the reason why I bring that up is that Spirit is undoubtedly the hinge on which World Elite's success swings. And that said, there hasn't been a lot of it. They are 0-8.
Yeah, not exactly finding the form that they're looking for, but Varus is going to be banned away, and I love seeing him on the ban list. Of course, Varus, my personal favorite champion in the entirety of League of Legends. Of course, only second to Mordekaiser, but he's never going to see any play ever. So, of course, seeing him banned away from Godby there, kind of exciting, but Vladimir is going to be the answer here. No Azir ban. Azir going to have a couple thrown at him. The Cassiopeia there as well, and of course, Nidalee banned away from Spirit. But Hecarim and Kalista means that there is a slight gap in the Gragas factor.
Yeah, Spirit could look to go for the Gragas. I would much rather see him on a Rek'Sai just because her mobility and cross-map pressure, there we go, the first pick. And it really comes down to you have to ban Nidalee and Rek'Sai against Spirit because he truly can 1v9 take a game.
There is one thing that I have to mention.
Yeah, I'm
Aluka,
waiting.
the train driver himself.
Yep.
His Scion
It's
is
not
finally
banned.
open. Are we going to see it?
Nope.
Akon going to insta-lock Fizz, and TBQ taking the Gragas straight away. So Akon thinking about the same type of a move that we've been seeing the Fizzes do with that Cinderhulk, but World Elite, what are they going to take here? And Spirit probably not going to be on the least in, and we'll see what they do decide to go with. But what do you think the World Elite looks for here? What do they decide to build around Spirit's Rek'Sai?
I mean, you could really put anything there. And the thing about World Elite or WE is that they aren't cohesive as a team. We talked about last game, EDG and IG, and just IG just weren't there yet as far as their 5v5 cohesion to be able to take down EDG. World Elite suffer from a very similar issue in that they have incredibly gifted mechanical players in their solo lanes. Xie, the big standout, had a great performance at IM, but the problem is translating that mechanical ability and that lane power into a cohesive 5v5 unit, and that's where WE have really fallen short. And it's not the Scion, it's the Aurelia.
The Aluka Aurelia there in the top lane, trying to weather the storm of the Fizz. See whether, may not necessarily, we might be getting ahead of ourselves because Godby could of course play that Fizz in the mid lane. He is another one of these players that does have that sort of champion ocean, as we mentioned before. Maybe without as many sharks with lasers, but definitely an ocean of available champions there. Imp thinking about a Vayne, but the Alistair makes a whole lot more sense to me here for PYL. Disappointed he's not on the Bard. I did want to go on a magical journey tonight, but not going to be happening this game, as Imp is going to change his mind, picks up the Sivir, and that makes a whole lot more sense.
This is a much more tame composition so far coming out of LGD than we've seen in the past. Obviously, PYL is coming off of the recovery bench. He did recently have jaw surgery. He came
fantastic.
out... looks amazing. Very handsome. Handsome as flame. He came out of... Came off the recovery. Too far? Okay, I got it. But there was the line and you crossed it.
I don't know what you're talking about now.
But when he comes back, they had a bit of a questionable team comp coming through with some Vayne, Bard, Varus action. It worked out. They split 1-1. And that's the thing that I also wanted to talk about, kind of the ramp time for both these teams. Because when you look at their week 1 and week 2 performance, week 1, pretty much both of them get smashed. They 0-2. LGD did split 1-1 with RNG. And then week 2, suddenly World Elite are starting to find some of their wins. So split so far with Masters 3 and OMG and see if they can maybe split again with LG or possibly take a 2-0.
We'll see whether they can find something here anyway. They need to try and get back onto the horse, but it is going to be the Jinx and the Azir locked in. Some massive late game scaling here off the back of Spirit's potential early game aggression that he can sort of provide to some of these lanes, maybe get them through what could be a rough time in the laning phase, mostly with the fact that Azir wants to be smacking people in the late game as well as the Jinx at the same time. LGD cycling through a whole bunch of picks, and the Orianna makes a bunch of sense to me because Godvy's Orianna is a terror to behold.
I want to talk about how Godvy plays Orianna. So we've talked about this throughout the night. It's the difference of, even though people are playing the same champions, how that player uniquely plays that champion. And this is what I want you to look at for when Godvy plays Orianna. So Godvy on his Orianna, he's going to hit those massive shockwaves. That's a signature staple for every Orianna package. But he plays very close to his ball. And the reason why he does that is because obviously he's shortening the distance in which he can control his ball and move it around. Godvy is going to be doing his damage primarily with his Q and his W as opposed to hitting that massive shockwave. And it's a very aggressive and very atypical style of Orianna play. It's fantastic to watch. He is definitely one of the best Orianna players in the world.
Yeah, and that might be a reason, because I was always wondering why Godby was sort of one of the only Oriannas to actually build the Liandry's Torment. We saw him pick that one up, especially in this tanky meta when it was really starting to break out into that Cinderhulk. But being this kind of player that likes to move the ball around a lot means that you're getting a whole lot more of that ticking passive and gets the dot damage a whole lot more. Does that make a bit of sense with they're picking up that item? Because I've just had a brainwave and that sort of makes sense to me. I'm
just going to smile and nod. It's going to be part of it. Just the thing that you just have to watch for, he stands very close to his ball. He moves it a lot. You have to think that Orianna, her damage is actually going to be affected because if you're standing farther away, it takes your ball that much longer to move around and to go to its target. And so he's going to stand close and kind of whip it around.
Whipping around the ball, ladies and gentlemen.
And just start chunking people down. So it's more of like a poke-based Orianna versus a massive shockwave Orianna. But on the other side, we really haven't touched 2WE composition. Yeah. They had the Rek'Sai, the Jinx, Morgana, spacing on the mid lane.
Mid lane was Azir.
Azir. Oh, okay.
The Pigeon Man.
That was what it was. A space control composition. And what I mean by that is a very zoning potential right there. And obviously opening it up for Jinx, hyper carry allows her much more room to run around and be that massive damage threat. Yeah, and we do have a pause leading into the game, ladies and gentlemen, so you are going to see our lovely faces for a little bit longer, but I do like the World Elite comp. I think that it's very dangerous, though, because, of course, when a team hasn't seen a whole lot of victories and then they pick one of these scaling comps that requires so much control in the early game, it does sort of tend to lead to these sort of situations where you just don't manage to get any of that control and you get rolled over because they just don't have the confidence moving on to the Rift. We haven't seen Team WE pick up anything thus far, so is it a risk? One of the dangers is that, yes, it's a composition that, again, if you're creating space and zone control for Jinx to kind of run wild, then, yeah, you need to be cohesive as a unit and use teamwork, and that's kind of where WE have failed. But on the same side, they have damage threats pretty much in every single lane. You have an Aurelia top and a Luca. You have the Rek'Sai. Spirit has that carry potential as well as Jinx and Azir. All of those champions are going to be threats as far as damage is concerned. And so if it breaks down into a skirmish and just kind of that disorganized chaos, then they can do it on their own. They can go solo queue mentality because all of them have carry potential. Well, see whether that's how it's going to break down, but let's get on to the Rift. And here we are, ladies and gentlemen. First game of our final match of the night as LGD take on World Elite. World Elite will be on our blue side this time around. It looks like the 5-point defense system has been activated and Aluka putting some hurt down onto Acorn in the top lane, who's just going to head back to base and nurture his wounds just a little bit. Well, the question will be, again, is the lane swap going to happen? So EDG lines up in a 5-point both games in their last set. Yeah. And what they did is, again, they showed on a ward, they made sure that the enemy bot lane had vision of them, thought that they were going to the bot lane, then would just reverse it and run up to the top lane. Looks like that is also going to be the case. Now, interesting and fun statistics for LGD. The AD carry with the least amount of kill participation is actually Imp. Wow. Now, where it gets really interesting is that the support with the third most kill participation out of all of the supports in the LPL, and I have to say it because Fan obviously was a big part of the first week for LGD, is PYL. Now, PYL is a big roaming support. He roams on his own. He doesn't need TBQ to kind of be his shadow and follow him. He will roam with him, but a lot of times this Alistar will just roll into the mid lane all by himself and make stuff happen. So this is definitely very indicative of LGD's style. They lane swap Imp, they leave him to his own devices, and PYL causes a menace, which he's doing to Spirit right now. Yeah, a little bit of a ruckus potentially breaking out here as Spirit's trying to calmly take his blue buff, and PYL's being frustrating. Oh, he gets it with the Pulverize as well. Another knock up here from Spirit as PYL just continues to be annoying, but Spirit in the end is going to be able to lock down this blue buff, and Acorn not going to quite manage. Oh, actually, no, he's going to be able to take all of his wolves, and Conan just going to head back to the bottom lane. Actually, did he pick one up? He did. So the question is, why do the supports go over there? Is it just to poke them down, to give them low health, to cause them a hard time? What they really want is they want the experience. So it doesn't seem like a big deal that PYL would get one of the blue sentinels. That's those little pebbles underneath the blue buff. Yep. But it messes with the leveling that Spirit's going to be doing in his jungle. So it's pretty obnoxious deal. Yeah, most certainly is. And it looks frustrating as well because you've got this cow just watching you. And it's one of those situations where you just don't want to watch someone while you're jungling. Jungling is supposed to be one of these alone time moments. Just don't really like it as much. So Spirit, a bit frustrated, but is now going to find, of course, that alone time in the jungle himself. Luca actually hanging out with him there, so actually not. It's LGD. 4 men strong in the top side of the map, but it seems that Acorn and TBQ are heading back towards the mid lane.
I wonder whether the Chie is going to be in their crosshairs, as it looks like the Scuttle Crab just going to fall down. Waterloo take theirs as well.
A bit of a delayed back from PYL, so he decided to go back. He's going to walk down towards Acorn, but problem is that Acorn's going to be there by himself. Spirit's trying to get into the bush, doesn't quite get there in time.
Gets the ward, spots that Acorn is there. Conan and Mystic are just going to try and get some damage down on this turret. They've got a huge minion wave. Cannon Creep just falling down as Godby going to take some Sand Soldier poke. They're not too worried about that one. Of course, this lane probably turning into a bit of a farm fest now as well. Just going to zone away from this turret. Looks like there are a few members of LGD around, but Spirit with that Tremor Sense going to see. There's a 4-man knockup from PYL. That was Mystic. He's burning down Force. Use that flash to get out, but it's a really great use of those Flame Chompers, and TBQ might be in trouble. The last auto attack, not quite enough there to finish off the Fat Man as they're now desperately trying to clear out this turret. Oh, he's actually got a whole lot of his health back. There's another multi-man knockup as the Cow's going to pick up a kill. LGD making plays underneath this turret. Spirit going to fall after grabbing. Oh, actually, not dead just yet. Godby, there's the QW combo, and he's going to be able to secure that one. Conan, the only member to survive in that bot lane skirmish. And LGD really making them pay for just an extended tower dive. I
have no idea what WE were thinking right there to walk back through the tower, and they effectively waited for the full rotation of the CC chain, the pulverize into the belly bop to come back up because they got double CC'd back to back. Massive play from PYL, and this is what we're talking about. PYL is the shot caller. He's the captain of LGD. Every single member on LGD, the Koreans and the Chinese players, are on LGD because of PYL. They all said, yeah, I'm going to this team. I could have any other team, but I'm going to this one because I believe in him. I often call him the Chinese Mata. He's a very controlling shot caller, and we saw it in week 1. LGD looked completely lost without PYL guiding them. And when he roams around, when he gets involved with the team earlier on massive plays like that, that's when LGD start to snowball ahead and run away with games and become that monster that we saw in the semifinals of the LPL playoffs. And here's the replay.
Yeah, LGD is really doing some work. And it's all of the knockups from PYL, both rotations of the Pulverize. Perfect.
I mean, effectively, they're like, okay, we'll just wait 5 seconds, wait for the Q Pulverize to come back up. Let's go walk back through the tower, guys. This will be awesome.
And as we can see,
Pop.
Doesn't quite work.
Belly bop. Yep. I have no idea what they were thinking right there.
No, neither do I. Spirit does get a cute little flash over the wall, but Godby says, yet dead. Luca heading down towards the bottom side of the map now, as everyone is deciding to back here from Team WE. Imp pushing continuously on the top side as Luca's going to teleport in. Of course, generally a little bit of a dangerous prospect teleporting to an outer turret when there's no one else on that side of the map, but they knew that, of course, LGD were elsewhere. Yeah,
they knew that they were all onto the bottom side, so he knows he's not going to be dove. He needed to get that big wave. And again, Imp, lowest kill participation of any of the 8 carries, but hold on.
Yep, there's the Black Shield. Conan, though, is going to mean that he is very much a dead Morgana, and Mystic wanders out safely, but it's an easy pick here for LGD.
And that's the threat of using the Black Shield early like that, as opposed to waiting for the mid-animation headbutt and then making sure that you don't connect with your CC. Conan pulls the trigger early, and he pays for it with his life.
Yeah, and of course, he was the one that was extended a little bit further out, so LGD just easily get hold of that Morgana. The Flame Chompers were there to try and help out, but it's going to mean that LGD able to get towards this dragon very early on, 7 minutes into the game. Haven't seen too many of the sort of 3-minute dragons, apart from IG, I guess, in the previous game, but before that hadn't been as many early moves towards this dragon, so still relatively early considering the moment.
What's really interesting about LGD, they have quite a weak early game actually, but looking at this you wouldn't believe that because they're making so many plays. As far as taking first tower, taking first dragon, and taking first blood, they actually have the lowest percentage so far in the LPL season.
My goodness. Just for this season or for the whole year?
Just for this split.
Oh, okay, well.
Which, again, Fan played, their former supporter, their sub-support, played the first week, and without PYL's guidance, LGD fall apart.
I prefer to talk about it more as, you know, they played without PYL instead of talking about Fan, because I feel like it's mean. Oh, he had such big shoes to fill. And, of course, LGD definitely going to be very happy having PYL back on the squad. Mystic and Conan forced to farming underneath this turret now that Imp has moved down here. BF Sword, in comparison to the Avarice Blade, means that LGD definitely with the power play, power control on the bottom side.
It's the idea that Imp's not here to farm up and look for later power spikes or try to maximize his mid-game power spike, especially because the dragon's down. He wants just the flat AD because it's about pushing the towers down and snowballing your gold lead by taking these early objectives.
Not to mention that he gets so much more wave shove as well with all that extra AD. The Boomerang's going to really start doing a whole bunch of damage to the minion waves. And of course the poke damage underneath the turret really helping out as far as destroying Mystic's health bar. GA though going to continue farming out this mid lane. Haven't spoken about that too much, but of course this stage, Orianna Azir probably just going to be a bit of a farm fit.
I want to talk about play styles though. I love what makes players unique for the champions. We talked at length about Godvy's Orianna, but hold on, Spirit going in for a gank. Yeah,
Spirit looking for something here. Black Shield's on him, but there's on the hunt. Zap not going to land, neither is the Dark Binding. And Spirit just going to cop a Boomerang for him. Imp having a bit of a dance. That's cute.
Classic Imp.
Yep. Stay classy. Acorn though, just playing around, some funny business there on the top side. And what does Aluka build? Does he go for the just general Trinity Force first, that type of option?
Yeah, so Aurelia is an item-based champion. What I mean when I say that is it doesn't matter if Aurelia is 0-4. At some point, it's just a certain amount of gold comes into her itemization, typically through the Trinity Force, and she's ready to go and to be that massive threat and monster, but we'll see if she's able to survive this.
Yeah, the fish comes down onto Aluka here in the top lane as Acorn trying to tank this turret for as long as possible. Wow! That was a big explosive cast, and TBQ just says, all right, I'll just take the kill. You've done your work there, Acorn, no problem. Oh, the tunnel in from Spirit, though, looking for the knock-up. Does find it, but it's still 2v1 here. Gonna have to be a little bit careful. LGD decide not to kill him, but not sure whether Spirit really wanted to go too aggressive.
And unfortunately, there's just too many fires across the map, bot and top lane, that Spirit is just getting run around and not able to rotate quickly enough to make an impact that we normally see from him. I mean, normally when Spirit gets his hands on Rek'Sai, that's absolutely devastating because he's just so good at controlling the game and taking it over, but falling behind to TB. I'm not even going to say it's TBQ, it's PYL, especially as we see him again in the mid lane. This guy has been everywhere, and he's out jungling, out rotating Spirit.
Yeah, he's most certainly out of the paddock this game on the Alistair as Conan going to continue prepping this wave for Mystic as they try and do their very best to catch back up. Of course, the farm absolutely fine here for Mystic. Actually has himself an assist in comparison to the 0-0-0 there of Imp, who was caught in the top lane instead of being able to capitalize on a whole lot of the action in the bottom side. LGD can continue to push out.
So let's talk about Godvy. Godvy builds Sweeper on pretty much every single one of his champions, and again with like a mid laner, Orianna, Azir, although Xie also has Sweeper, so it does speak to both of these players' need to assassinate someone. Typically on a wave clear mid laner, you're going to take an upgraded Trinket and effectively have a cheap Sight Stone, place your 3 wards and help your team that way. Godvy is so creative about how he goes into team fights. He's always flanking, especially when he plays his Ahri, but even when he plays his Orianna. So by taking the Sweeper, again, it's standing in the bush, having that more assassin kill-oriented mindset by making sure I'm going to sweep this out, I'm going to wait for someone to rotate into me, and then I'm going to murder them. Or, as Godvy typically likes to do, I'm going to stand on maybe the back of a Baron or the back of a Dragon Pit, make sure no one sees me, and then as the team collapses for a team fight, I'm going to flash over this wall and I'm going to 5-man shockwave you.
Yeah, his flashes over the wall are definitely one of my favorite parts about Godvy.
It's a huge key part of their team fighting and their identity, and Godvy was a rookie last split, has made exponential growth, and now thinks that, I guess I shouldn't say thinks, he says that he is the best mid laner in China.
Well, Pawn said it. He said Pawn's the best Korean mid laner and Godvy's the best Chinese. Apparently. Look, I mean, there's a lot of things that have been said. As Playful Trickster is going to come through the fish, zoning Aluka out of the way. Actually takes the damage there as well. TBQ looks to try and escape now that a few more members of World Elite have headed up here, and their first kill actually going to go to PYL as TBQ tries to get out. Body slams back in just for some CC, and it is going to be Acorn picking up the kill. Imp, though, going super aggressive under Xie. Oh my goodness, almost able to turn it around, but no, Imp flashes out of the way.
Super Mega Death Rocket.
Oh, is he going to get it? Back into it. Oh, Mystic picking up the consolation kill as Godby now trying to kill Conan. Oh, flashes a little bit late, but there's the Ignite. Of course Godvi took Ignite.
Okay, so here's the thing in China. They're so good at pulling the trigger. The reason why everything happened crazy at once is because both teams saw all of the resources that had been committed to the top lane. So Imp and Godvi then immediately start flash diving towers, knowing that there's going to be no sort of counter threat or counter engage there. I mean, obviously a nice super mega death rocket from Mystic trades 1-for-1, but you'll constantly see this in a lot of LPL games because, again, it's all about that aggression, that as soon as everyone shows up on the map, everything's going to explode all at once.
Well, that was most certainly demonstrated right there as G8 now just going to clear out this mid wave. Just going to say, dang it, almost managed to take down Imp, but couldn't, of course. Down by about 20 CS, but Godvi 2-0-1 as well. Already has that Athenes and the double Dorans completed. Might be sitting on a fair bit of extra gold as well. Has 4,000 now in the lead is LGD. Decent Dark Binding there, but it's not going to stop that pink ward from falling down, and Conan understands that they have no control around this dragon. LGD going to pick up an easy second, and Imp going to continue pushing on the bottom side. Zap optimistically flies through, but only going to hit the fat belly of TBQ. This top lane now taking a little bit of fire here from the Team WE members.
And Spirit playing to the top side of the Acorn.
For something.
He's just flirting with disaster. So Spirit playing the top side, understanding that there's no way that his team can contest for a dragon because in a grouped 4v4, 5v5, they're just not strong enough. They've lost across the map. Playing to the objective that he thought that he could get, which would be applying pressure to that top lane tower. Decides against it, pulls back, probably because he didn't have enough vision of the enemy team, didn't know where anyone was going to rotate. I was looking for a cask.
Yep. Not going to happen. Can you actually cast them out of that? You can, but it moves pretty quick, does Azir, when he's flying through on his E.
Drift King Azir.
Yeah. I'm getting around the corners, man. I like Drift King Scion. Oh, Aluka, why didn't you pick it? The train driver himself. He had the opportunity. Why? Why this Aurelia?
40 CS down, too.
I know. If he was a Scion, he wouldn't have been, though. This Scion is so impressive.
It's your favorite aspect, though. So let's talk about this Cinder Hulk.
Yeah, it's my favorite version.
He's got the Cinder Hulk complete. Now, obviously, Cinder Hulk is going to give you multiplicative tankiness.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful on Fizz because, again, we've talked about how the CDR in the build also adds pseudo-tankiness or supplements his tankiness because he's spending so much time in the air that he's just immune to damage that much longer. And then he doesn't necessarily need a ton of damage stats because he's still going to start shredding through this Aurelia just because he does percentile damage on his W.
Yeah, so able to at least navigate that lane, and already we've seen 2-0-5 now for this Fizz, really able to get things done across the map. Xie chilling out in this mid lane, just trying to defend, and haven't seen much from him so far. I mean, he's died once, he's picked up an assist, but that is about it from this Azir. And WE, I guess, to their credit, probably wanting just to try and weather the storm as best they can, but I don't know whether they're necessarily doing it well enough. Down 6,000 gold now. LGD having their way with the Dragons, picking up turrets across the map as well. 2 now to 1. WE need to find something, some way of damage controlling this so they can get to the point where Mystic can really carry this through. Or Xie as well. I mean, Aluka, he scales fantastically. This team gets like max items. It's going to be scary for LGD, but I just can't really see them finding that window, that avenue to get there.
Oh, well, right now they're doing exactly what they need to be doing, and it's just farming their lanes, sitting down. They do need to take a bit more control over the vision, which is why you see Conan moving in, placed down that pink ward, swept out a lot of the vision that LGD had placed down offensively into the bottom side right jungle. So it's about securing, making sure that they can get to their free farm lanes, continuing building up towards their item power spikes, and just waiting for late game. It's holding on now.
Holding on for as long as we possibly can.
But as opposed to that, so LGD understand that they're strong right now, so they're going to start making quick rotations. So what they do is they send Godby down into the bot lane to just apply continuous pressure. He's here just really to eat up farm. If he gets damage on the tower, if he kills someone, that's just an added bonus. But he's here just to get more items onto Orianna, whereas the bot lane, Alistar and Sivir, more importantly, the tower pushing device, Imp, has been moved into the mid lane because the next priority objective for LGD as far as their map control is that mid-tier tower.
And I love what Godby's done with his build here as well. Already picked up the Alacrity enchant on his Sorcerer's Shoes with, of course, that Aether Wisp. Of course, it just hasn't really been an item that we've seen too much of until just recently. But a whole lot of extra movement speed, so it is good. of course, when that Luden's Echo does come in, he's going to be able to move really quickly. But right now, of course, so positionally focused is Godby's playstyle, he can move even quicker.
It's the relationship between Orianna's positioning and her ball. The closer she is, the faster she can get it from point A to point B, the more rotation she can get through, the more damage she can do. So it makes sense, fits in with the playstyle. We'll see if PYL goes for this dive here.
Does get caught. Mystic doing a fair bit of damage there as PYL loses half of his health. His turret is getting relatively low, though. LGD able to poke that one out, and Acorn was trying to rotate around, going to beat a Luca to any team fight in the mid lane. WE understand that, and they're not going to go too aggressive. But Godby playing pretty far up in this lane. General Godby back.
Taking him off of bot lane. Looks like they're just going to try to force this one down, use Orianna as a zoning potential. That said, so hard to siege into his ear.
Yeah. And a Jinx as well. I mean, the Rocket's going to do some work on that front too. Oh, fish down onto a Luca though. If in doubt, head to the top lane and try and kill a Luca. But looks like they're not going to be able to here as he actually dives back in onto TBQ. Oh, super mega death rocket sails by, but Conan is able to lock down the kill. Spirit gets knocked up by that pulverize, but maybe a little optimistic there by LGD.
Frankly, a misplay from LGD. They're trying to force too many things across the map, and they're getting punished for it. Again, Ward Elite have done a fantastic job setting up their defensive vision, so they're just able to make these quick reactive rotations and punish LGD for their over-aggression on these towers. What they really need to be doing is playing split pressure across the map. There's no reason why this giant, massive wave of farm isn't being eaten up by LGD.
Yeah, and Imp, of course, forced to hang around in this mid lane as well. The blue buff is going to get taken down by WE, but are they going to sacrifice the mid turret for it? Of course, LGD going to have a few auto attacks worth onto this one, and they are going to be able to get it down. So outer turret in the mid lane does fall. Eventually, LGD do pick up what they were looking for, but it does mean that WE have actually managed to come back just a little bit in this game.
And it's because for the last kind of 2 to 3 minutes of that mid-siege that LGD were trying to set up, they sacrificed a lot of their pressure. And again, I was talking about kind of these big sideways that had built up. There's just free gold down here. And LGD weren't being as effective as possible in making sure that it gets on the right targets and kind of maximizing their efficiency as far as taking down towers. It should have just been Sivir and Alistar in that mid lane just continually pushing in, and Orianna really pushing down on the bot lane. By moving up all of their resources, they forced World Elite to group, and they made a mistake, got caught. Still in control, but World Elite kind of closed that gap.
Yeah, they have, and of course, we've mentioned the fact that this comp gets pretty scary, and Aluka now has the Trinity Force completed. Aurelia getting to a point where she's going to be scary as well, but Acorn, of course, with fairly gigantic lead, and when you talk about Aluka being scary, people generally laugh at you. That being said, I think he's a fantastic player.
All he needs is about 150 CS so he can afford his Trinity Force. And again, it doesn't matter if Aurelia is 0, 3, and 2. If she has her Trinity, she's still going to be that scary Aurelia.
Well, she's got it. So,
yeah,
we'll see whether they are going to fight for this dragon. Of course, down to about 2,000 health now as Spirit looking for the steal. They don't get it. TBQ locks it down. Sand Soldiers are in there as TBQ almost gets taken down by the super mega almost dead Rocket. As LGD are going to back away from the dragon, and Acorn with the teleport available was trying to get in position to potentially teleport down, but doesn't have to. And Aluka, oh, he's going to get fished in the top lane. There's the Skirmisher's Saber as well, as Acorn actually going all in here. There's the Equilibrium Strike, but is Urchin Strike going to be back available as WE are going to just make sure that they protect their top lane?
This is an incredibly different style from LGD. Now, we know that they have Acorn and Flame on their roster, and very much like how Amazing Jay and Koro interact with the team, it would kind of be the same for Acorn and Flame. You have your carry top laner, you have your supportive top laner. We keep seeing Acorn on these Flame-esque champions. Not that Flame's known for his fizz, but just this carry style. It's not like Acorn, you know, was teleporting down to that last dragon fight and trying to make a sick flank or using an equalizer on his famous Rumble. He's playing fizz top Cinderhulk, and he's just pushing Aluka's face in and competing with a 2v2 or a 1v1, which this is very much more Flame's style of game. So really interesting to see Acorn kind of filling this new niche and expanding her horizons as a stylistic top laner.
Well, I just find it so crazy. Of course, we've seen Acorn's cannon a whole lot. Flame, of course, known for his cannon back on CJ Blaze, but haven't seen it once, and we just see Flame play Rumble all the time, and so.
The Roomba.
Yeah. I mean, it's amusing.
I want a Rumble Roomba skin.
Rumble skin. My goodness.
He's just a vacuum cleaner with his little flamethrower.
Yeah, it makes sense.
I should call it massive flamethrower. It's not very little. Okay,
I'm just thinking of a Roomba, though. Those things are really small.
Reset. Okay, Dragon's down. So like EDG, we learned this from the last set. Once Dragon's down, you can then pick up your vision. You can move it to the top side of the map because effectively you have a 6-minute window where the Dragon will respawn where you can make plays elsewhere. So it's now about where LGD are going to move their resources. And again, can World Elite make sure that they clear out the offensive flanking vision that LGD set down, keep their laner safe, and continue to stall this game out or to at least stop the bleeding?
Well, they definitely need to try and stop LGD from taking this next Dragon. That's the 4th.
Didn't stop him from taking his Raptors.
Oh, dear.
The popcorn chicken.
The popcorn chickens.
Yeah, they're like little basketballs with feet.
I know, it's so cute.
Not the word I would have used, but...
Oh, little basketballs with feet. How is that not cute? I think I've got that one right. I don't get much right, Frostgrim, but
that one's
I think
right.
I've got that one right.
Big item complete, though, is the Luden's Echo on Orianna. And we talk about how last game Luden's Echo should be kind of a late rotation for Cassiopeia because she needs to get her core itemization before she can really make use of that. Orianna can get it much earlier. It's a fantastic item on her because it's all about just quickly rotating through your spells. So there's 2 styles of mages. There's your sustain mage and there's your burst mage. Your burst mage is going to be someone like Annie who just runs in, drops all of her spells in a single rotation, and then probably either dies or backs out of the fight. Orianna is going to... Ooh, hold on.
Yep, looking for something here as POL, but...
Orianna is going to continuously rotate through her spells. The more spell rotation she gets off, the more procs of Luden's Echo she gets off, which means that item is going to do so much more damage for her than it would someone on a burst mage.
Not to mention it also sort of building back up with movement as well, and he's got the Alacrity enchant. So many synergies here for Godby.
I'll whip my ball back and forth.
Whipping his ball back and forth. Most definitely. Thank you very much for that. Haven't really heard that reference so far on the LPL cast. I'm just so glad of what you've been bringing so far, Froster. And Imp actually going to have to use his ultimate here to try and escape. He's going to successfully do so, but that's a huge cooldown now that WE have eked out of LGD. Positional advantage potentially here for the LGD lineup, though, as WE turning it back around.
They realize they're on the wrong side, right?
Yeah. This siege is an interesting one, as the turret's actually been set up now, so...
The pincer.
Yeah, LGD actually have no idea what's going on.
Wow, they're just letting Xie rip through them with these sand soldiers. LGD complete. That was a... Ooh, hold on.
Yep, they're looking for something. Luca does get knocked up. There's the double knock up as POL heads underneath the tower. He does pop the ultimate there, but there's the 3-man knock up with the Shockwave and Spirit trying to get some work done. But man, look at these ultimates and spells going through from Godby. He's cleaning up the fight. Quadra kill already. Godby looking for the Penta. He doesn't get it. Oh my goodness, the Ludens, and delivered the Pentakill. Godby really making the moves happen for LGD.
Now, of course, it's Godby that comes up huge with the Pentakill. We talked about his ability to pace really close to his ball and to continually whip it. We saw him flash forward immediately, set the Q back down, tried to even get the Pentakill with a Ludens proc on the Wolves right there.
That was very cute.
But this was on the back of PYL. Again, the shot caller, the captain of the team, flashes into the tower.
Yeah, he looked like an angry father that was just like, guys, come on, we've got to go now. So he heads under the turret and sacrifices most of his health bar.
A beautiful 3-man shockwave from Godby transitions into a tower, a Pentakill, and now the Baron.
Well, it's exactly what you said as well. I love that you mentioned the fact that these spells are what really works in Godby's kit, because I got completely brain melted by the fact that his Dissonance did almost more damage than his Shockwave did in that team fight.
Again, it's not that he can't land these impressive shockwaves because he got one last time. It's just his style. He runs forward with Orianna. He's not going to use the ball to zone you out and stand at max distance and keep safety and do a zone control, Orianna. It's, I'm going to beat you with this blunt object, Orianna.
And it is a relatively blunt object. Does make sense.
Very fast, too. Alacrity, Luden's Echo. He's going.
Yep.
Dissonance.
So many synergies. So much synergy. My goodness. Multiplicative could almost be used here. I just love that word.
We're only allowed to use that word for Cinderhulk. That's like the...
No, you can use it for other things.
You pull out your caster little booklet and you're like, I can only say multiplicative when talking about Cinderhulk kick stats.
You can talk about Cinderhulk, and it's multiplicative also with Infinity Edge crit stats.
More importantly, though, they got the 4th dragon. Now, obviously, the 4th dragon is incredibly important in helping you take Baron, but unfortunately for LGD, they didn't get the memo because they took Baron and then 4th dragon. But this does open the 5th dragon window.
Yeah, it just means that they have an entire bevy of options on this Rift. I mean, it's not even necessarily about having all this dragon control, because if World Elite or WE get anywhere near them, LGD probably will just murder them.
They need to hang on to this tower. The thing is that there's a big wave coming in behind them, so it would be unwise for World Elite to get a bad fight. If they die here, the wave behind them would be big enough that LGD could end the game. I suspect that if Xie, although you got his Sand Shoulders out relatively early.
Yeah, LGD may have just realized the fact that their waves are pushing actually towards the mid and the top side of the map, so understanding that they can't really extended siege towards the bottom side, just going to clear these ones out as quickly as they can. Imp with his trinity of items there with the Static Shiv, the Last Whisper, and of course the Infinity Edge, doing a whole lot of damage, especially to these structures. As Shockwave gonna hula hoop a little bit as the fish comes through as well, but still so much damage. It's a decent Emperor's Divide, but I'm not sure whether it's enough, as now it's the Imp Show getting so much work done. Still a double kill coming down for Godby, but man, another ace, and that happened in a matter of seconds after a missed Shockwave. And yeah, that's enough to get a surrender out of WE. But man, LGD, the last couple of team fights look super scary.
Again, on the back of PYL. Yes, Imp did a fantastic, aggressive flash through the Emperor's Divide, the go button, the cohesive team fighting of them. But again, PYL comes from behind, sets up the big play. He may not be the guy getting the pentakill, but he is the guy leading them to victory. Yeah,
and he was the one that started the pentakill fight as well. You have to remember that that ball was on the back of the cow. The back, everyone's on the back, carrying them through this game. And of course, that Alistair performance was fantastic. But ladies and gentlemen, we still have one more game this evening. World Elite going to try and fight back against an LGD looking reinvigorated with their captain support. We are going to have a short break, but we'll be back with that right afterwards.